Let's discuss this concept called rape culture at universities and how institutions can tackle this scourge. Elisabet le Roux is from Stellenbosch University, the Unit for Religion and Development Research, and joins us via Skype. Good afternoon to you. So we hear this term rape culture being bandied around all the time. Can we first of all try and wrap a proper definition around it?
Sure. I think when people hear rape culture, the term, they're very defensive. They're saying, you know, everyone doesn't rape, everyone doesn't experience rape. And I think they miss, that's why it's so important to really understand the definition. It's not referring only to the act of sexual violence of a man raping a woman, but we're talking about a culture that belittles women and empowers men, where it is seen as accepted and acceptable and normal. These various forms of microaggressions that are perpetrated against women, where they are portrayed as being lesser beings, and these can be sexual, but it's also a general. It's the catcalling when you walk down the road. It's the glances. It's the comments about what you're wearing. So it's not just about rape.
So leading on from that, if we can focus on universities themselves, it's fair to say that campuses would be a microcosm of society. So is it more amplified at universities? Are students there perhaps more vulnerable to attack?
Yes, I think in a sad way, our higher education institutions kind of lends itself to almost like an amplification of this kind of culture, because it's such an enclosed space. So you study, you live, you stay with the same people. So it's a reinforcement of certain values and certain ways of doing things. With little outside influence. So very often it's students moving away from home. So it's no longer family influences, you know, civil society influences that are different than this little campus. And then we also see very often some of the practices, the accepted practices on our campuses that are really detrimental to women.
I get the impression that sometimes universities are either powerless to act or simply don't understand the scale and the magnitude of the problem. For instance, just a short time ago on this program, we had the Vice-Chancellor of Rhodes University saying that their response to this is, and I quote, "There are mainstreaming issues of gender and sexuality." Sounds like words to me. Are there plans in place? And is there enough cooperation, I wonder, between different university campuses?
So whenever I hear the word mainstreaming, I roll my eyes, because for me it feels, within this world of sexual violence that I work in, it feels like the ultimate cop-out. Because if there's not an intense focus on the issue, it just disappears within other issues. So yes, I do feel it's a cop-out. I don't think our universities in South Africa are taking this seriously enough. You can see this in the research, that really lacking. At the same time, we can see that more broadly in the rest of the world, this really is an issue that is not getting the attention that it deserves. There is some catch-up now happening. We can see the UK and Australia really serious effort, I think, compared to us at least, being put into trying to address it. But no, I don't think nearly enough's being done.
So let's look at Stellenbosch University if we can. There was, and I'm not quite sure when this was implemented, there was a task team to, and I quote, "review aspects within the university that might underpin a rape culture." There's also the establishment of this equality unit. What have you accomplished?
Well, I was not part of this task team. So the task team issued a report. So the report is there, and the equality unit is a space where these cases can be taken. Honestly, my personal opinion, and also speaking to people who have been part of the task team process, I don't think it takes this issue seriously enough, and just to see what is happening in practice, I don't think enough's happening, no.
How do you change, I wonder, the male culture as far as this is concerned? I want to take you back to June 2016. Members of the Economic Freedom Fighters Student Command claiming that men in some residences at the University of Pretoria were, and I quote, rewarded for promiscuity and humiliated for fidelity. It seems that this pattern is endemic and entrenched.
Yes, and again, we see this more broadly than only South African campuses. You know, some of my colleagues working in the US on the same issue, the common saying is amongst men on many campuses is no means yes and yes means anal. So yes, there's definitely this is definitely an issue in what I think is being seen as, you know, a good male student, this idea of being a male student on campus. I think, you know, again, while I'm saying I don't think our universities are doing enough, I don't think you can say a university is supposed to be fixing this entire problem. People come from a context. You know, there's been at least 18 years of raising this individual before he or she comes to the university. So we need a broader societal, I think, transformation around what we teach our children on what it means to be a man and what it means to be a woman and what a healthy relationship is and what healthy sexuality is. And I think our families play a crucial role in that, and what is modeled within our family spaces, but also a society, organizations like churches, our faith communities. I think our government and our government leaders play a crucial role, again, in what they're modeling. But on campuses specifically, I think what we see as acceptable, especially in single-sex residences, again, these rituals of you know, what you need to do to become someone that is accepted within this residence is often very problematic.
Just finally, and something we haven't discussed, is enforcement against perpetrators. I would suggest to you that it's not sufficient and that it takes a long time often for the university to suspend, to act on the charges that are proffered, and also for legal authorities to bring charges.
Yes, it takes a very long time. From the one side, and discussing this with the powers that be, they're saying they need to follow due process in terms of legally responding. I do think that the needs and life of a survivor of sexual violence, of rape, is not prioritized in the same way as the rights and the needs of a perpetrator or alleged perpetrator. I think we need better reinforcement of policies that are put in place, but very often within many of our universities there are not adequate policies in place for handling the situation if a woman steps forward and says, this happened to me. So you have this crisis context where a university board is then kind of struggling to figure out legally what is the right thing to do. And that reactive stance, I think, is very harmful and detrimental to survivors within that vulnerable space that they're in at that moment.
All right, Elisabet le Roux, thank you very much indeed via Skype from Stellenbosch in the Western Cape.